Joe Mixon in a walking boot. Stefon Diggs, could he be released? There's talk by a Patriots announcer. You might know Scott Zolak. You might not. He's not somebody you probably know outside of New England, but this is a Patriots announcer who said that he came to the table yesterday to the radio show that he does, that there's the idea that Diggs being cut is on the table inside the New England Patriot organization. Now, you can say that that's BS. I didn't come up with that piece of news. This is, again, coming from a Patriots announcer, somebody closer to the situation than any of us. So it's something to think about, and it is something that we must discuss. Even if we don't think it happens, we have to discuss what does it mean for Kyle Williams. I'll tell you what it means.
Stock on the rise.
If that were to happen. Now, again, this is not coming from me. My job is to bring you the juicy news that's out there, and sometimes we shoot it down, sometimes we give it a good old stamp of approval.
You've just been...
And sometimes we just go over all the different variants that could arise from something like that. So Mixon in a walking boot, not good. That means Woody Mark season might be
stock on the rise.
On the rise. Diggs potential release rumors. We'll talk about that. How real could that be? Little more Christian McCaffrey. Little bit of Jameson Williams being talked up by Campbell today. And a whole lot more. The Fantasy Football Show begins right now. File on in.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
From the FantasyFootballShow.com news desk, here is your breaking news.
And first super chat of the evening, Kevin gets a standing ovation. Kevin wants to know, is it J.K. Dobbins to Texan season? Maybe not, but thank you for the super chat.
Let's go, mashed potatoes!
Hard to say. This would definitely be a good fit if they were looking for an RB, but the thing about Mixon is that this is said to be precautionary. We were told that the calf injury to Christian McCaffrey was precautionary. These older players, a lot of these signs of this and that could be their body's alarm system saying we're about to blow an Achilles, we're about to blow something severe. And so you can't just, blow this off and say, oh, he's in a walking boot right now in mother freaking May. From last year, had ankle issues last year, had a whole lot going on last year. In May, he's in a walking boot, still trying to recover from last season, essentially. He broke down hardcore. He was amazing. Nobody's going to be able to sit here and say he wasn't absolutely amazing in the first 10 weeks, nearly 3 months of the season. But then he fell off the face of the earth. So yeah, there's some Woody Marks love on this channel. There's a potential J.K. Dobbins in the mix. We'll have to see how it goes. But Kevin, nice super chat. Appreciate you dropping the first super chat of the evening. Any other super chats will get immediate attention. We'll come in strong and answer those immediately going forward. So we'll have to monitor this thing, but I'm not drafting Joe Mixon at all. I know last year, I admit, my advice, I was right that he busted, but my advice should have been, I'll even call this a miss last year, even though ultimately anybody that had him lost their championship, because he completely folded at the end, even if you made it far because of him. But I'll take the L on the advice last year, because the advice should have been draft him, ride the coattails till about 2 months, maybe right at the sign of double-digit weeks, and trade him high. Problem is, you never know when the drop-off happens. Is it week 8? Is it week 9? Is it week 10? So it's harder to do. It's easier to say. But at the end of the day, there's no way I'm going back into this, boat again with Joe Mixon. It's probably going to be Woody Marks. We've got, this is the Zolak, Scott Zolak. I'll be honest with you, I don't even really know much about him. The guy's a sports talk New England Patriot guy, an announcer, a Patriots announcer of sorts on a radio show. And he says it's not just the boat. There's some other things. And he says, I quote, came onto the show yesterday with the knowledge that Diggs getting cut is on the table. So who knows how true this is? I can't vouch for this guy's credibility. I don't know what in the hell, is in store for Diggs. I just know that what he's saying is more parallel with what I believe to be in the cards for the New England Patriots. I believe they probably have had this. I'll go ahead and just say, I don't know whether this is true. I can't validate this guy. I have no idea what his credibility is, but I believe it. I believe it. I don't know how far this conversation might be taking place, how far down this road they're going to go, but I believe the conversation has been had. He is a toxic player. I said this yesterday that Stefon Diggs, I said this on my Patreon, imagine Drake May, humble, wholesome guy stretching, Kyle Williams, young, impressionable rookie stretching. Imagine Hendy comes running up and he's like, hey, coach, and Vrabel walks over and just kind of rustles their hair around, little tykes. Look at you guys, you cute little guys, all you youngins just getting ready for football. I'm so proud of you all. Yes, coach, we love you. Diggs strolling up, Cardi B dropping him off, Diggs walking out and just sits down and starts stretching and the whole place goes quiet. This is a weird picture to paint, but this is kind of what I'm trying to paint a picture of a young crew that's trying to develop together, and Diggs walks in and creates toxicity in the locker room, on the field, off the field especially, and just gives the organization a dead weight. He's a dead weight. Doesn't matter how quick he might look coming off an ACL tear. He's an old man that probably won't last until the end of the year anyway. So he's going to play well for a little while, then leave you hanging and create a locker room problem. He's dead weight. He is dead weight. That's it. It doesn't matter how good he plays. He's dead weight. Just like when a team in basketball, they gather the super team and it doesn't win. But then another team that comes up together, they have cohesion. They can beat a team with 3 absolute studs on an NBA roster. I don't think that Diggs helps the New England Patriots evolve. I don't think Diggs helps Drake May evolve. I think they're better off without him. And I think that Cardi B in this situation is a huge distraction. And you could say, oh, what he does off the field, no, yes, it is a problem. It bleeds into the locker room. It bleeds into the vibe. Imagine yourself in a workplace environment where you're sitting there and you're talking with your friends at your workplace. You're in the water cooler or the break room, and that really toxic person walks into the room. How different is your day right then? What if they moved the toxic person right next to you in your cubicle as you're creating TPS reports? How bad does your day get? Does your day change? Does your vibe change? Does your productivity change? Everything changes. I believe that the Patriots are considering cutting Diggs. On a boat, handing around this weird-looking substance, no one knows what it was, making everyone call him daddy. He's just a big distraction. And you could say, let the man have fun. It's voluntary OTAs. He hasn't even shown up yet, Smitty. He's fine. He's fine. How many shares do you own of Diggs? If you're saying that to me, how many shares of Stefon Diggs do you have in fantasy? Truly, I'm asking you a question, because that's the only reason somebody's going to defend Stefon Diggs. What did he do? He went over to the Houston Texan locker room. Stroud fell apart. The wide receiver room fell apart. You can blame it on injury. You can blame it on whatever you want. Diggs is a problem. What did Diggs do the locker room before? Tore it down so much so, even when he was playing like a top 5 wide receiver through about half of the season, under Josh Allen's command in Buffalo, the year they traded him off. After they traded him off that offseason, he had a top 5 wide receiver season going. And there is, on good authority, and a lot of sources have already quoted this, that Josh Allen and the whole organization, the coaching staff specifically, said we're going to ease him out. In the middle of him dropping a top 5 wide receiver season, they started to phase him out of the offense because they knew they were getting rid of him. This guy is a toxic person, and he's dragging down every locker room he goes to. He's 2 for 2. What makes anybody think this is a good fit, even temporarily? Oh, I look at it like it's going to help May. It's not going to help May. It's not going to help May. It's going to cause more problems than it helps Drake May. Kyle Williams can get it done and handle it. Bring in Keenan Allen. Bring in Keenan Allen. Have Kyle Williams and Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen's a much better example for the young wide receivers. This is ridiculous. It is ridiculous to even consider keeping this man on the roster. You're going to tear your locker room apart. He's done it twice in a row. Is it a coincidence that they didn't want him back in Houston? Is it a coincidence that right early on he's complaining and bitching and moaning on the sideline? Is it a coincidence that right before that, the locker room he was in, they eased him out when he was having a top 5 wide receiver season? They didn't want him there. Diggs is a problem. You know how many times he created havoc for Josh Allen? You think Drake May at his young development with his confidence being built up needs to deal with this diva calling him out, questioning him, demanding the ball here, demanding the ball there? This is going to be an absolute disaster if they keep him on roster. Do I know if this is true, that this guy Zolak, and this being reported by NBC Boston, said on a radio show, this is a Patriots announcer, probably more dialed in than any of us are on what he's hearing. I don't know how serious he is. I don't know how much validity we can give the guy, but I believe it. It makes sense. It's logical. He says that he came with the knowledge to the table, to the radio show, that it is on the table inside the organization that Stefon Diggs could get released. Will it happen? No. Did he say he wanted it to happen? He said no, but he's a Patriot fan. He wants every chance he can get. This guy Stroud crumbled because of Joe Mixon. Stefon Diggs. So anyway, I'm sorry I had the Mixon graphic up. I should have even put the Diggs graphic up while I was talking about Diggs. But anyway, Joe Mixon, to close out the Joe Mixon take, I went off on a tangent on all different fronts. Joe Mixon in a walking boot, okay? Joe Mixon in a walking boot. Stefon Diggs, there's rumors. It's possible he could get cut. Who knows how true they are. Stroud there's no concerns whatsoever about Stroud throwing in voluntary OTAs. There's been a lot of rumors about is he still suffering with a pectoral injury? This guy definitely folded in a lot of ways last year. I think emotionally, I think physically, I think confidence-wise, he's been a little bit rattled. This guy walked up to Caleb Williams and gave him advice, and everything just went downhill from there. It just folded from there. And I don't believe in CJ Stroud right now. I'm not saying he can't earn my trust back, but by no means am I drafting this guy in fantasy, because I hear things like, hey, CJ Stroud is going to take on that leadership role and try and become a leader this year. You're the quarterback. You're Drake May last year as a rookie. Bo Nix last year as a rookie. Penix Jr. last year as a rookie. All these quarterbacks are leaders immediately. You don't become that or accept that role. I'm hearing that he's accepting the leadership role. He's going to try and take it on full go this year. You don't take it on. You wear it. It is what you are. You are that the moment you step on the field. There's so many things that are wrong with this situation to me. And I don't think that Nico doesn't survive. I think Nico does fine. I think Stroud loves Nico, targets Nico, oversaturates Nico. Nico will be fine. But this is one of those situations where I'm going to wait, and I'm not going to go near this situation until unless I have to. So Stroud, and the fact that he's dealing with the pectoral issue, it seems like they're keeping that under wraps, or acting like everything's fine. Is he throwing? Is he not throwing? Oh, he just hasn't lined up to throw in the right context with the media there, and all these different things. I just feel like there's, and then on top of that, you look at Joe Mixon and Stroud, and so from a fantasy perspective, what do I always tell you guys? When push comes to shove, you roll with the player that's in the amazing offense that's going to live at and around the goal line, at and in the red zone. Around the red zone, in the red zone, just live in the red zone. Pitch a tent at the 20-yard line and inside. This is a team that has one of the worst offensive line, at least I'm most concerned about this offensive line becoming one of the worst in the National Football League. So even in Woody Marks' case, we're not going to just put him on the moon because it's a bad situation. And so CJ Stroud being protected, having the support he needs, Mixon getting the blocking he needs as he loses a step. He's going to be facing 8-man fronts again potentially at times. This is a disaster waiting to happen when you mix in the offensive line with the fact that nothing has rebounded other than Nico Collins since the folding. Nico is always going to be somebody, especially if they're down and losing, they'll throw. So I'm not worried about Nico, but I don't know that I'm taking anybody else. Higgins, I take at the right spot. I like the way Higgins, plays ball. I think he's got a lot of skills. I could definitely bank on Higgins, but it's something Zolak was a former quarterback. That's correct. So the guy's got some credibility. I just don't know how gotcha he is with his content. I don't know if he's dropped stuff before and been wrong. I have no way to validate that, and I don't co-sign with anything he says. I'm just merely telling you that this is floating around. It's big enough that, honestly, I'm seeing it get posted on Twitter, on X, all over the place right now after we went live. Not that people are going off of our show, but I'm just saying we're on top of this as soon as it breaks. And so it's going to get widespread. And in that, I've got to address it. So you can come in here like a keyboard warrior, Patriot fan, and go, Smitty, this is so dumb. This is not going to happen. You can't believe you're trusting Zolak. I've seen that already. I'm not trusting Zolak. You get the wax out of your ears. This is big enough that it's circulating, and my job isn't to come in and just say everything's true. My job is to break it down, and my logic tells me that even if they don't cut him, and I don't need to hear, oh, Smitty, later, he didn't cut him, see? I'm not saying they're going to cut him. His thing is, it's on the table. Now, they might say, let's give him more time, and then he shapes up, he breaks up with Cardi B, starts dating, some other person that isn't as flashy, or who the hell knows? But I just know it's on I know it's probably on the table personally. That's going to be my take. And it doesn't mean that I co-sign anything that he says. That's just my take. But yeah, he's a former quarterback. He's a Patriots announcer, and that's what he said. Now, this is good news. This is what a lot of JMO owners want to hear. Doesn't change my viewpoint, because my viewpoint is still, I love JMO, and I get so angry when people make me cut him down to size because people put him in some weird ADP territory that makes me come in and say, don't take him that high, and then everyone says I don't like him. We conducted this train last year. There's no I don't like Jameson Williams. You just can't expect him to be a third-round player. And he climbed into the bottom of 3, top of 4 for a big majority of the offseason, in some contests anyway. And then this news drops, and I'm just afraid it's going to drive him back into the third round, like 3.10, 3.11, 3.12. And it's never smart business to draft a wide receiver that's not even the number 1 wide receiver on his team, that might not even be the number 2 option on his team, that might even be sharing the number 4 option in terms of targets in an offense that just lost Ben Johnson, where Goff has been bad in years past without Ben Johnson. It just makes sense to be like, pump the brakes. Don't take him at 3-4 turn area. Take him late 4. Take him at late 4. The 4-5 turn would be perfect. And if he goes higher, then let someone else take the risk. It doesn't mean he can't produce 1,100 yards and 8 touchdowns and 79 receptions. He certainly can do that. But anybody taking their third drafted player from a player that is not even the secure third option on his team, you're playing with fire and you're nostalgic. You're hypnotized by the fact that you own him and there's good news about him. Oh my God, one of my players, he's amazing. He's amazing, he's glorious. And I'm not a hater because I'm telling you the truth. It goes back to my Chase Brown stuff. I love Chase Brown. It makes me so angry when someone comes in here and tries to make me tear Chase Brown down in some way, shape, or form. When I love the guy, I love drafting Chase Brown. I continue to draft Chase Brown. Chase Brown to the mother freaking moon. Love the kid, always will. He is an absolute monster.
Let's go, mashed potatoes!
Yep.
But I get a comment yesterday that says, Chase Brown in round 2? No, not Chase Brown in round 2. Then I get 2 more comments, DMs, and emails that say, I thought you liked Chase Brown. Why'd you tell that guy no Chase Brown in round 2? What are we doing? What are we doing? We can like these players, and we should like these players. And we're the ones that called these players. We called J-Mo's rise, we called Chase Brown's rise, but we don't take them ahead of their ADP by 10 to 12 to 15 draft slots, and we don't call people haters because they don't do so. I love Bucky at number 14, 15 overall. Bucky wins leagues. But if someone calls into the show and says, should I take Bucky at 4 overall? You seem to like him a lot. And I say, hell no. What are you talking about? Bucky at 4? And then it's like, oh, Bucky, Smitty, I thought you liked Bucky Irving. Chase Brown's amazing. He's amazing, but his ADP is 4.1 to 4.5. You start taking him at late second, early third. You're not baking in the risk that is apparently there when this organization said several times they want to dial him back. I'm not saying they will. I'm not saying I think he drops off. I love Chase Brown. How many times do I got to say it? But you gotta manipulate and massage the ADP. The ADP data is how you win. Not you don't draft off ADP, you manipulate ADP. And when ADP gets out of hand for one of these guys, you look to other players without hatred or doubt or saying I don't like them or anything like that. That's not the case. I love Chase Brown. If I own him in Dynasty, it's going to be really hard to trade him unless somebody gives me second round startup equivalent value. Like here is a Drake London. Here is a player like Harvey. I take Harvey over Brown. And that's more the point. I take Harvey in round 4. I'm not taking Brown ahead of him if I take Harvey over Brown. That's the whole pecking order of the thing. Doesn't mean I don't love Chase Brown. I don't think people hear me sometimes. And not a lot of you. Obviously, the ballers and OGs in here, that you know what time it is. But it's just like sometimes I don't understand. How much more clear can I make it that I love Chase Brown and you draft him in the right spot, he could win you a league still. In the 4th round, he's still got the upside to win you a league. He still has the upside in the 4th round to be a second-round producer. But you don't draft him in the 2nd round because you like him. That is called bad fantasy football management. And Jameson Williams is the same way. We told you about Jamo. We told you. We told you.
Let him cook.
Doesn't mean you take him at 3.8 because Campbell comes out and says this. Campbell says Jameson Williams has gotten much stronger in the offseason, and they're excited to use him all over the field, and they don't want to get it. He said, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. It's only camp, or it's only OTAs, but he looks really good. And everybody's going to throw him in the 3rd round. Let him. It doesn't mean I hate him. Doesn't mean I'm just cutting him down to size from the overinflated expectation, and that can happen on even some of our favorite players. You take him as your 3rd drafted player, bye-bye. You take Jamo as your 3rd drafted player. See you next year. That doesn't mean we don't like him. You take Bucky at 1 overall. You're not making smart moves. Bucky goes in round 2. Chase Brown goes in round 4. Jamo goes in round 4, 5. And I don't know how high this is going to slingshot him up the ADP. We'll see. Kyle Pitts, more rumors about him getting traded. Multiple teams have reached out to the Falcons about the availability of Kyle Pitts. We'll see if this has any legs. He's failed long enough that they would consider it versus like extending him. This guy might make the Moon Man list, to be honest with you. Harbaugh said, I want to see Isaiah Likely be an all-pro this season. I love this kid. I hope they give him the football. This is a wide receiver, ladies and gentlemen. This is a cheat code tight end that can be top 5 with ease if given the opportunity. We've said this for a couple years now. We've been higher on Likely. He was a Moon Man a couple years ago. A couple years ago, he was a Moon Man. Hasn't been used. A failure of an attempt, calling him out, saying he'd do this, he didn't do it. I take the L, I wear the scarlet letter all day long. Big L. Big L so far. A little early on the Likely train. I admit it. But I'm ready for this. I'm ready for this. Andrews is getting older. I very much like that Andrews' value is tanking lately. And you can grab Andrews and Likely together in best ball. I think that in non-best ball, you might be able to accomplish that the same way. But Likely is one of the better second tight ends in best ball that you could find. And that might not be the case very soon. Monster. Likely is going to potentially explode this year. Travis Kelce, another tight end, could be dropping off, but he did lose roughly 15 to 20 lbs. He's supposed to be in the best shape he's been in a long time. I wouldn't say the best shape of his life. I saw a picture of him the other day. It didn't look like he didn't shed 20 lbs, but we'll have to kind of play this by ear. But Mahomes thinks Travis Kelce feels better than even last year before going into last season. I think he still was like top 5, right? In most formats. If you look at your scoring format, he probably was 5 or 6. So could he be 6 or 7? Could he drop 1 or 2 spots? Could he still get 7 or 8 touchdowns and 900 yards? Maybe more. Could he still get 1,000 yards and 5 touchdowns? Like, could it be a different balance of that stat line? Yeah. And I think that makes him a very, very good 8th round pick. I mean, he's been going like an 8, 9. I take Mahomes in 7, 6, 7. I take Kelce in 8, 9 and cuff them together in best ball. Love that. And if you want to draft with us tonight, Underdog Fantasy promo code Smitty. Hit this link right here. I'm going to drop in the live chat. Code Smitty gets it done. The link inserts code Smitty for you. You get a bonus credit added to your account up to $1,000 depending on your deposit. Smash the link. It's in the description of every video. It's just been dropped in the live chat. I'm going to pin it in the live chat. And if you want to draft this tonight, you got to hit it now. Sign up and be ready. It takes 2 minutes to sign up. So be ready. Sign up. You wait until tonight. You might miss out. This is a trade going down as it's being ironed out. The Niners are going to acquire, or already technically have acquired, Bryce Huff, defensive end. This is an interesting move. What's it mean for Jameson Williams, the rookie? A lot of people are saying, does it mean that they don't know if he'll be as good or if he's ready or if it's just a depth move? Why'd they do it? Niners are trying to make this young defense a very underrated defense, and I think there's a chance they're pretty good, but it depends on how the offense can protect Brock Purdy and can Trent Williams stay healthy, Christian McCaffrey stay healthy. I love Garendo anyway, but there's a lot going on, in San Francisco. So the defense can only be as good as the offense can allow it to be, because we've seen this happen before, especially in San Francisco when the defense is on the field constantly, especially a young one. They're going to fold midseason and become a bad defense, even if they start off good. So that is all she wrote for the news today. We're opening phone lines, so dial on in.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Dial in to the phone line, and let's have at it. Let's test the phone line with the trusty voicemail of Denny.
You're right.
Okay, so the audio's working. We're getting that fed through. Always have to test the phone line. Here we are. Would love to hear what you're all saying. You're saying like Joe Mixon was good and played half a season, so what? Says Joel. Joel, I don't know what you're saying. If a guy plays good for a season, it's half as bad season because of injury also. Joel, I don't know what you're trying to tell me. Joe Mixon played horribly the last 5 games, says Travis. Diggs hasn't played horribly yet. But the injury mixed with everything else, I just don't know. Is there a world where Diggs is very helpful to this organization? Yeah. Just like there's a chance if I walk across the freeway with my eyes closed at, I don't know, 11:55 p.m. There's a chance I'm going to be okay. I mean, maybe even not even like a 5%. Maybe it's like a 10 or 11 or 14% chance, but there's still a lot that can go wrong. And I feel like that's what this is for Diggs in New England. There's so many things that I think could go wrong here for the team in terms of building around Drake May. It's just like super teams in the NBA. It doesn't always jive well just because there's a big name you're bringing in. Diggs feels like unraveled Antonio Brown. A little more. Antonio Brown's unhinged now, but earlier he was very premeditated. His getting out of the Raiders uniform by pretending he was crazy, and then when he got out, he told Grandma, I'm free, it worked, and she said, I told you it'd work, and totally planned out getting out of Oakland. What? It's crazy. Yeah, and Diggs does not have his mind right now. There's just no way. But we'll see what happens. Phone lines are open. Dial in. I find myself taking Woody and Ray Davis as my last drafted player a lot, says Mike. I don't blame you on that. Super chats will be handled as soon as they come in, so send them on in. I like Marks a lot. The problem I end up coming to when I see Marks and like Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt on the board, and I take Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, who's almost there every single time in round 18 in the best ball draft, if you're not drafting with our crew, is that he's got an amazing offense. He's got an amazing offensive line situation going because of just the mere presence of, not only are they improving it, but the mere presence of JD5. He's going to face a lot of less stacked boxes, and he's going to find a lot of room to navigate. Dial into the show. Eric, I think I missed your call. I'm sorry. Hit it again. Bruce, you're live. I just come back to Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt over Marks, who's got a bad offensive line situation, not to mention a quarterback that didn't bounce back yet. Go ahead, Bruce.
I don't know if you've seen this, but what are your thoughts on what Joe Flacco said on when they asked him if it's his job to mentor, and he said
we talked about it. Bruce, you always ask me stuff we've already covered. Almost always. But yeah, maybe not everybody.
Last night, that was
not every segment everybody sees, but yeah, yesterday we talked about it that Flacco, said he's not going to mentor anybody. We didn't touch on it that long though. So Flacco's not going to mentor anybody. He's not here to mentor anybody. He is probably the likely favorite right now to win the job. So yeah, I think that's why we drafted him last night. We talked about that while I drafted him last night in some drafts, but he's probably going to start. How long does he hold on to the job? I don't know. But Flacco probably will be the starter in week 1. As of right now, who the hell knows? Yeah. But is he should he be owned in any one QB scenario? Hell no. Should he be owned in Superflex? Of course.
I got one more with the Browns. What is kind of a dumb question in my thinking. If the Browns say, you know what, we're just on the practice squad, wouldn't it be dumb of the Jaguars if they didn't say, oh, he's on the practice squad, we're just going to sign Shedeur to the active roster?
Well, I think Shedeur is the second. I think he will prove to be the number 1 quarterback on the roster, but they won't start him. They could, maybe they do, they smarten up and do it, but I think they're not going to start him in week 1. And there's a lot of rumors about how there's no way, a lot of people close to the situation are saying there's no way they're starting a rookie. But he's the top quarterback on the Browns roster without a hesitation, and he's turning heads. He's not just doing good, he's turning heads, he's blowing everybody out of the water. Now, granted, you got a lot more time, we got pads, we got contact and all that. But right now, there's no way this team, there is, they're the Browns, doesn't have him slotted as like second quarterback. And he's just one situation away from going into the game. That's what's got to happen. If they don't do that, I would be on the phone if I'm another team trading for him. And if they don't trade him on that, I'd be like, why is he your third quarterback then? Like, make a decision. But yeah, this is the Browns. Anything can happen. But logic would tell you he's going to be the number 2, and he'll be ready to go. He'll be ready to go. Shedeur Sanders is starting probably half the season, if not more. And he's gonna make every single person that doubted him look like a buffoon.
Okay.
People just hate him. They hate him. And the people that come in and say he's trash, his dad, like, you can tell that they're clinging to stuff because they start talking about his dad. They start talking about his gold chain. It's like they don't talk about anything with substance. It's a bunch of nonsense. I just laugh at people. I laugh at Shedeur haters. It's completely rooted in bias. They can call in and debate me all they want. I'm waiting for it. Go ahead, rock out. Hold on, Bruce. Let me go to rock out. Mute yourself real quick, Brucey. Rock out. You're live. Hey, real quickly, hold on, rock out, real quickly. Oh God, rock out, mute. Oh, rock out, your phone is really, really bad. You're gonna have to call back. Try and establish a new connection, bro. What was I gonna say? Oh, Joel says, Smitty, can you explain to Travis, please, how Diggs hasn't played good ball since Josh Allen? There were moments he played good ball in Houston, bro. I don't know. There were. He was doing well. He was not playing bad in Houston. It was just he was a diva, and then he got hurt and wasn't exactly the best fit there, or they would have brought him back, like, clearly. But there were moments there. There's definitely signs of him playing well. It wasn't like he didn't have a potential. He was actually producing okay. You could start him at fantasy when he was in there for majority of the time. So I don't know what you're talking about. But doesn't mean I like him on this roster. Doesn't mean I'd bring him on my squad. Doesn't mean that he's going to be good coming off the injury. Doesn't mean he's going to be good off the injury, not being able to focus. And I know they show, look, he's back on the grind. He's out there, rehabbing. Look, he is focused. Like, okay, he showed up to work. Like, what are we doing? Everybody's trying to say it repaired the boat show. The boat show's fine because look at him. He's out there cutting real fast. Like, he showed up to work. He showed up to work. Congratulations.
Let's go, mashed potatoes.
Yeah, buddy.
And technically, he didn't show up to work. He's not at OTAs. He's just doing his rehab, which apparently is excused or not excused. We don't really know. They might be trying to tell you it's excused because they have no control over it. It's voluntary anyway, but they could have said, we want you to do your rehab here. And he says, no, I'm doing it at Cardi B's boat. Yes, sir. I don't know. If it was me, and Vrabel doesn't seem like the guy that would be putting up with this BS. That's why I think that this report of odds of Diggs getting cut, even though a lot of people are going to say it's BS, don't trust this reporter. I'm not saying I do trust him. I'm saying I said last night I wouldn't want him. We hinted around this last night before this report even dropped today that it was it should be considered. I remember talking about it last night. That this is one of those things where it's like, at what point do you pull the plug? But Vrabel seems like the kind of guy that wouldn't put up with this BS, so I'm confused. Just like Tomlin's the kind of guy that wouldn't put up with the Aaron Rodgers BS, and I'm confused there. Vrabel is a hard-nosed, tough guy that I don't understand what he's doing. This is me. I'd walk in, I'd bring Diggs in my office, and I'd say, Diggs, you're gone. You had a chance to come in here, be a leader. You're out there doing God knows what, and you're just not focused, bro. It's just not for us. This fit doesn't work for us. We want something different here. Go ahead, Bruce. Let's see if your phone works.
Smitty, would you rather have
Are you Bruce?
Rashad White or JSN if you take one this year?
Rashad White or who? You said Rashad White and who?
Or not JSN. JSN or Travis. Travis Etienne. Knowing one of them are probably going to get moved.
I don't think you're saying the right names are the names aren't coming out of your mouth properly. JSN or ETN? You keep saying
ETN or
you okay, Bruce?
Rashad White from Tampa. He said his last year there too.
You just went to JSN. Okay, Rashad White or ETN? Thank you. Rashad White or ETN? Give me ETN all day, because ETN is maybe the starter. Rashad White is not the starter. But at the end of the day, they could be regulated to the same exact role. Bruce, you okay? Blink twice. Can anybody hear him blink? Can anybody hear him blinking twice? Are you okay, Bruce? All right.
Fine.
Okay. You're like, hey, Rashad White or JSN? Not Rashad White. I mean JSN and ETN.
We mixed up. I get
Right.
just like in the third round. I did a draft JSN.
There you go. Submarine.
And then it was like, oh man, I drafted.
All right.
And then when it came back.
Hang tight, Bruce. Hang tight, Bruce. Let's go over to Rock Out. Rock Out and then over to the other caller. But Rock Out, you're live.
Is people actually taking Jameson the third round? Am I getting that correct?
Not now. They were. There was a time where he was going like 3.12 to like 4.3. It was a short period of time, but I couldn't believe my eyes. And then his ADP has since climbed into the. Let me see. Let me pull it up. Let me see where he's going right now. Yeah, you just got to be careful because this news is going to make him climb really, really high. This news is going to excite all these JMO people, and they're going to pull the trigger early. The problem is this is best ball data. In non-best ball, he's probably not. But in best ball,
yeah,
JMO is going right around, let's see, it's 45 right now. right now it's 45 before this news has a chance to marinate. And 45 is right about the middle, a little bit past the middle of round 4. So he'll have to, this news will have to make him, climb like 8 spots, or even if it's the 3-4 turn, it's not good. It's not good. It's not a good place to take him. Like where I'm looking right now, where he's going at 45, you have RJ Harvey sitting there. You have Joe Burrow going after that. You have a handful of players. Kyron goes sometimes in the 4th round. Breece Hall goes at 4.1 to 4.8. The quarterbacks are the ones that make it tough for me. I'm not taking J-Mo over Jaden Daniels, over Joe Burrow, over Jalen Hurts, over any of those quarterbacks.
And as far as likely, you think he'd be like a top 8, top 10 guy?
I think he can produce like a top 5 to 6 tight end, but will he be locked into that? No. I think you're hoping Andrews misses some time and then he gets unlocked. But he'll definitely be maybe where you're suggesting, even in a sharing role. Because look, he's like a wide receiver. They don't have to have Andrews injured in order to lock on to Likely. Likely can line up all over the field and go downfield, and I mean he's fantastic, man. What else? Or hold on, let me go over to this other caller. All right, mute yourself, Rock Out and Bruce, please. Let me go to the 952 caller. What's your name and where you calling from, bro?
PJ.
What's up?
So I'm in a Dynasty league, and I'd say I'm top 3 to 14. I'm trying to trade Pacheco for a wide receiver. Who would you target, and how would you try to sell him?
Pacheco for a wide receiver, good luck. I mean, Pacheco's got like double-digit round ADP, bro. Like, no one's going to trade you anything for Pacheco. I mean, give me some ideas of what you've been kicking around.
I was thinking, so one was Sutton.
Sutton, yeah, you're not going to get that. Maybe. You can maybe get Keon Cole. Let me pull up the underdog ADP.
What thoughts on what are your overall Pacheco and like Dynasty draft running back like people thought they kind of would?
I think Pacheco's got decent value late in a draft. Let me see where his ADP is. His ADP is 88 to 95 overall. Below him, Scatterboo. I take Scatterboo. Below him, Charbonnet. I take Charbonnet. So if you can make those trades for like guys that are not going to help you now, and you're assuming Pacheco won't help you later, you know what I mean? Like they're going to cross paths and cross streams. I would definitely take one of those guys. You could even go Bashal Tootin. You're going to have to take a risk. And then when you go at wide receiver past 85, 88 overall, you're talking about Luther Burden, Emeka Egbuka, I would take. And I do all this in redraft. Of course I would do it in Dynasty. Kyle Williams, Jack Besh if you need a receiver, I guess. But you're not getting much more than that, man.
Right.
But do I hold on to him before I cut him or value him less than that? Yeah, because there is a world where Pacheco has 8 touchdowns and 900 yards. But staying healthy is going to be a tough thing for him.
And then can I ask one more question real quick?
Go ahead.
Dynasty, would you rather have Rome Odunze or
Dynasty, Rome Odunze or Jordan Addison? Probably. Damn it. Chat, what do you think on that one? They're so close because I think Burden becomes the one in Chicago, but at least Odunze has a shot to be. Addison has no prayer in hell being the number one in his situation, and I don't think that J.J. McCarthy is exactly throwing a whole lot more, if any more, than Caleb. So give me Rome. Addison's a tiny bit safer if you want safety, but I guess Rome's got more upside, but a little more risk. All right, bro. Appreciate you.
I was on the Addison train.
All right, call back if you got another one.
Goal.
Addison, I don't know. He's safer. If you need safety, go Addison. But if you want upside and you're willing to risk the biscuit. All right, rock out. What else you got?
What do you think? What role Odunze will even have with Chicago?
I don't know. No idea. I wish I knew, but I don't. I'd be guessing. I think that he's probably the clear 2, but I don't know if he becomes the 1 or the 2. I don't know if Burden and him share. I don't know if Burden can take control early enough and Rome can fend him off. I think Burden's probably in the better situation because he's Ben Johnson's guy, and he's going to probably play the St. Brown role, which is going to be very advantageous. Not that Rome can't also line up all over the field, but I think Burden's very well fit and NFL ready, and he won't take a while to get eased in. Rome's kind of not advanced right now from last year. It's kind of like when you're really good at a sport and you take a year off, and then you come, I feel like Rome didn't take a year off, but he didn't progress last year. He didn't have the year that I think taught him the ropes, and I feel like they drafted a third wide receiver in an offense where their offensive coordinator only knew how to run 2 wide receiver sets. It was just, the Bears were a joke entering the 2024 NFL draft and coming out of it. It's insane. It's insane. Joel, stop talking about whatever you're talking about. Just move on. Just stop, Joel. This is what's going to get you in trouble. Just stop it. I don't know. I don't even care who's at fault. Just stop talking about it. Whatever you're talking about. Just move on to a different topic. Go ahead, Travis, you're live.
Hey, what's up? Just to speak on Zolak, he's kind of a goofball on the airway stuff.
Yeah.
He's pretty locked in with the Patriots team and even the NFL to a point. He's got pretty good sources, and he doesn't take much in terms of solid news. He'll hint around at stuff here and there, but he won't say something like that unless he's got it on the board. That is disgusting going on. But I'm not saying it'll happen, but you're definitely right to be thinking along those lines.
Yeah, I just think that I don't know that they've done anything but had and I don't even know that they have, but I'm saying in my mind I picture them having a conversation about it. I don't know how far the conversation went, but I certainly don't see a world where they're completely comfortable with where Diggs is at right now. So who knows, man?
I would guess. Vrabel's not going to stop us unless everything he's shown and we've heard about him isn't true anymore, which I see it being. Vrabel's not going to put up with it. And I think what probably happens is they have a talk with him and basically they say, anything happens, he's gone. It hurt money-wise to cut him. They have a ton of cap space still. We talked about it before. It's essentially a 1-year, $18 million deal. I don't know. It wouldn't be the end of the world. He's really screwing up that much and stopping that much.
Yeah. Everybody wants.
They could help on fresh plays,
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens, but crazy situation for sure. And as for, there's other news we're going to talk about here. Christian McCaffrey. We'll talk about the Rashee Rice stuff tonight. Apparently, there's a new lawsuit filed against Rashee Rice that alleges that a woman alleges that she and her son were heading home when their vehicle was hit in a high-speed crash. Rice and Knox maneuvered to illegally pass traffic on the left side of the road in an emergency lane and hit a median in the lawsuit. Is this regarding the the same situation. I'm guessing that this is just relating to the other crash, that it's another lawsuit within the confines of that crash. If it's even true, I'll look into it and we'll talk about it. But it looks like it's probably just another crash or another lawsuit inside that situation. It's not like he went out again. And let me just see. Teammates at SM. Yeah, it's just somebody filed another lawsuit. That doesn't change anything. I know everybody, wants to talk about how he's going to get suspended off another lawsuit, but first of all, if that's a civil lawsuit, it's going to take years. It's going to take years. But there's still potential suspension that Rice might face, but I don't think it'll be this year. The legal process has to completely play out before the NFL will get involved. So we'll talk about it tonight. Anyway, Christian McCaffrey looking slow according to most, looking fast according to others. There were some drills where he looked, speedy, like with his knee. He do this like trotting where he flips his leg and does like a wheelhouse type maneuver when he's warming up, high knees, and he looks like he can move his body pretty quickly in certain ways, but when he's cutting, it's a different thing on the knees than running in place and moving your legs up and down. Just like when Nick Chubb's in the gym jumping straight up, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, Nick Chubb looks 100%." And then Nick Chubb goes out onto the field like a couple weeks later, after that video, which was like a week or two ago from now, and he looked like a 80-year-old man running on the field, and he looked like he was carrying about 10 or 15 extra lbs. He was out there cutting, and he looked slower than a grandma out there with pads on. So don't be fooled by how someone looks when they're running in place with quick feet, or how high they can jump, or what they're lifting, or if they got a chain around their neck and doing push-ups. Don't be fooled by any of that. Chubb could look as great as can be. McCaffrey can look speedy in warm-ups. What's going to matter is McCaffrey cutting. What's going to matter is when McCaffrey has a 300-pound lineman on his back and he's trying to stay on his feet for 5 more yards, and then another 300-pound lineman jumps on that guy's back, and you just start firing off that Achilles, and both Achilles and both calves, and the calves are now tied to the Achilles injuries. There's just so much risk involved. It's Garendo and Jordan James season. We're gonna probably end the show early tonight, boys. Not now yet, but in a few minutes. Well, unless we get some more phone calls in here, and then I'll be back a little earlier than normal tonight, just so everybody knows. We might be here about 30 minutes or so before midnight, maybe earlier. And then in that way, we're a little early tonight. That should be a nice change. I kind of want to measure the views and stuff anyway to see what kind of time difference matters, to all of you. But anything else from you?
Yeah, that's probably why I missed Flacco.
Anything else from you, Bruce?
Flacco thing, that's probably knocked out. Yeah, I do have a question actually. On the ADP thing, and I've always been getting tricked on this almost every year. But there's been I've had like half my team on bye week at the same time. How much does ADP and bye week go into it?
Bye week, I don't care about bye weeks at all. As long as I can, cover myself on a bye week situation. I prefer all my buys in 1 week. I'd rather lose 1 week than bleed out a little bit every week for 5-6 weeks in a row. So bye weeks are irrelevant, completely irrelevant. If someone actually drafted another player because of a bye week, that to me is laughable. Like, if all things equal, you're looking at 2 players and you're like, oh, this guy has the same bye week as my star wide receiver, I'm going to take the other guy. That's just ridiculous. No, bye weeks are irrelevant. Just make sure you can cover.
Did a draft. It was a best ball draft, but almost our whole team, I think maybe 2 people.
Well, you got it. Yeah.
Week 8, we're done. We don't have nobody.
So that's a problem. That's like I said, you got to cover yourself. You got to have enough people to go in and score points. You don't want to, because even when you're bleeding out in best ball, you have other players that can step up. Example, let's say your top running backs are Gibbs and Kyron, and they both, let's say, they don't have the same bye, I don't think, but if they go out on bye together, let's say, then all of a sudden you got Sharbs and I don't know, Sharbs and Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, and they both have really good games. You were affected by the bye week 0. You crushed the bye week. That's how you can win off that. But you're not going to draft, but you just need to draft around it. You shouldn't be worried about your lineup in bye weeks. You just make sure when you're drafting other players that can cover. Like when all things are equal, you can consider bye week. So as you fill your lineup up and you get deeper in the draft, when things are a lot closer anyway, and you're wavering between like 15 guys in round 10, 11, 12, 13, then you're really looking at bye week because all things are really equal anyway. So just make sure you cover yourself. You probably won't win unless it's weekly winners. Did you say weekly winner?
No, it's best ball.
You probably won't win. You probably won't win. You could. I mean, you just got to get to the playoffs and be one of the top 2 teams. But there's a great chance that could hamper you if you have a whole week where you're just decimated. You probably won't win. In weekly winners, I'd rather have all my buys in 1 week, and then that's a week I don't get to play and try and compete. But all the other weeks, I'm full go, fully loaded. Or you could do weekly winner in a way that you're trying to draft the best team inside of the main bye week that everybody has a bye. So there's just different strategies in weeklies, but make sure you have guys to step up. You know, you can't have no quarterback during a bye week or you could get screwed, bro. Golf, what's up, my boy? Golf, you haven't been here in a while. Where's Golf been? All right, Bruce, we'll see you tonight, bro.
Yep. Yeah.
All right, rock out. Final thoughts.
When it comes to like running back, how much, like after you pick up your starters, how much do you look into like the schedule after your starters?
Strength of schedule is merely just a tool like anything else. It helps influence you when all things are equal, but strength of schedule doesn't really affect much for me. Defenses change, so much from year to year. Players get hurt. You start worrying about strength of schedule in week 17 and you don't draft a player because of it. You might not even make it to week, to the second round. Like just try and, make it to the finals. You can chew gum and walk at the same time. All things being equal, I like this player over this player. I'll take Joe Burrow this week with his matchup versus, whatever this week. And it makes me want to try and, again, chew gum and walk at the same time. But don't draft. You got to get really good, especially at best ball, at just drafting a good team. And then you start incorporating more as, how we do 20-second drafts and then you do a 60-second draft and it feels like you do a 60-second draft, or especially a 2-minute timer after you do a 20-second best ball draft over and over and over. It makes drafting in a 60-second or a 90-second draft like you're bored. You're just bored. You're not rushed. It's kind of the same way. Once you draft enough drafts and then you start not thinking of more complex things to add into your decision making, you're just sitting there anyway. It's like you start to get really good at being like, I learned this week 17 schedule. I have it memorized. I've drafted enough Burrow in week 17 because I know the matchup I love. Then you hold that information and you learn something else and you just have all these different things embedded. And then when you're on the clock, you can cipher through them real quickly. But you start getting too crazy with it and it doesn't happen naturally with just the knowledge that's lingering inside your brain. There's no way to implement it by looking it up when you're on the clock. So you just have to learn as much as you can, make the best decisions you can, but don't make decisions on bye weeks or matchups over talent. Only use it as a push you over the edge when all things are equal.
How about far as like trades, like you have like the person that has like a bad strength schedule and you could trade them like mid-year or whatever?
Who?
Like if you have someone that has like a bad strength of schedule and it's already like proven these teams are like a bad match.
I mean, it's all case. It's all
them.
yeah. It's all case by case, Rock Out. I'd have to have the exact situation. That's not a formula or a blanket strategy I could apply to anybody and just say, yeah, if you've got a bad schedule and you've got, I mean, I have to know what's going on. It'd have to be like, hey, you know, Alvin. Let me give you an example. Alvin Kamara has, let's say, a horrible. I'm not saying he does. I'm just giving you an example. Alvin Kamara has a horrible weeks 9 through 17 schedule. Well, guess what? Alvin Kamara logically is going to get worse every game he plays from here on out. He's going to just lose a step. Alvin Kamara has a very high likelihood of having the season that Joe Mixon had last year. Very good for a little while, and then he's going to fall off the face of the earth when it matters. So in that example, yes, I would trade away Alvin Kamara. But I'm in the business of drafting a player I don't need to preemptively trade later. Because then you're putting yourself in a position where you've got, think of it like a home loan where there was a balloon payment. Why get into a mortgage with a balloon payment that you got to worry about later? Why not just get into the mortgage that you don't have to worry about that? That's the way I look at trying to draft a player just to trade him later. Like, let's just get into Harvey instead of drafting Christian McCaffrey. Let's just draft a guy like, I don't know, if you're worried about Adams, you're drafting London instead. You're worried about DK Metcalf, you know, and his schedule's tough at the end, and Aaron Rodgers probably gets hurt, and Will Howard comes in mid-season. See, that's where your mind's going to work all that out, right? Try and predict those different things to happen. So DK, let's say, drops off when Will Howard goes in or something. I'd rather just draft JSN now, or JSN goes a little earlier. I'd rather draft Rashee Rice or Worthy or somebody over DK there. You know, like things like that. But it's all case by case. There's no way to put a blanket formula on it. Anything else, Rock Out? Appreciate you, bro.
That's it. I'll catch you later.
Yeah, we'll be back tonight. We'll go out live a little bit earlier tonight. Appreciate you, bro. Later. Travis, final thoughts, Travis.
Yeah, just in the Rusty, he was asking about in a super flex league QB2. Would you rather have Penix or Fields?
I saw somebody. I think it was you, Mike, that said that Penix doesn't run. You don't know what Penix does. You don't know what Penix is going to do. Penix does run. Penix is a fast quarterback. Penix had a great 40 time. Penix had a pylon touchdown diving score that everyone's like, this guy can run. Penix is going to keep defenses honest by his ability to knife through defenses with his arm and his legs. Penix is a running quarterback. He just didn't run in college his last 2 years because he had one more shot to get into the NFL because he had a string of injuries, and he played 2 straight healthy seasons, and he did so by avoiding running. I'm going to say Penix Jr. I like Justin Fields. I think Fields could ball out, but Fields is going to be a lesser thrower. And while he will run the ball a lot and effectively, I think Penix Jr. has a chance to run enough mixed with passing a ton more like Dak would compared to a running quarterback. Dak could throw for 42 touchdowns and 5,000 yards versus a quarterback like Hurts, who's going to throw for the 3,000 yard territory, 21 touchdowns passing. And yeah, he gets all the running, and that's going to bring him back up to Dak and maybe beyond. But Dak is a quarterback that can hang with all the running quarterbacks. He's one of the only non-Burrow, and Burrow runs a little too. Burrow can have 300 yards and 3-4 touchdowns on the ground. So it's like enough. But Burrow and Dak are the 2 non-running quarterbacks that can dance with all the running quarterbacks. I would say Penix could as well. And Bo Nix is a combination of all of that. Bo Nix is going to take a big leap for running, throwing, everything. I think I would go Penix Jr., but Fields could be a tad safer. But, you know, I don't know. The Jets... Yeah. Penix could have a big year. He's a little riskier because we haven't seen it for a while. You know, we only saw a glimmer of it, you know. I can't wait to see what Scott Hansen says about it when he comes on the show, because I definitely didn't deserve him to come back on in anoint that prediction correct. Because if you guys don't remember, I don't think I have the clip in here. Let me see if I have it. I might have it on the board here. Hold on. Is this it?
Hansen from NFL Red Zone, and 17 weeks of commercial-free fantasy football start now. I've never seen you wide shot there, my dude. That's impressive.
Yeah, this I don't think I have it in there. That's fun to watch anyway. We're gonna play that as we get closer to the season. But I got the clip somewhere. But in the clip, I told him JD5 would be the man. He was the man. I should have picked that as the challenge. I'm so mad at myself. I didn't tell him like JD5 would be in the MVP consideration, which we were talking about. I should have did that because then he said that he would, or we asked him, hey, if I'm right on this, you mentioned the channel on the Red Zone, and he's like, and then he said, I'll come back on the show, in December around Christmas time-ish, and come back on again basically to say you were right. But the one I picked was the Penix Jr. would be a top 10 quarterback. And it wasn't necessarily on the year, but he has to go in. It can't just be one game. He said he has to go in there and look like a top 10 quarterback. And Penix Jr., they just didn't pull the trigger. They didn't pull the trigger. He would have been on the Red Zone going, my boy Smitty out there. Damn it. So anyway, I can't wait to hear what he says about Penix Jr. though. Like you were almost there, man, and I was wondering if it was going to happen, or I wonder what he's going to say about JD5 too, because we definitely nailed pretty much everything we told him that day. That was awesome. But anyway, he comes on once a year. He'll be on here probably July, August, I imagine, but we'll see. Travis, what else you got?
That's it. I'll talk to you.
Okay, I'll be back a little earlier tonight, so if you're around, stop by. That'd be great. Thank you, Travis. Travis to the moon. Guys, thank Travis once in a while. I got to give him his own emoji, by the way, or some sort of moderator Travis geared emoji, because Travis puts up with a lot of the BS in the chat. And some of you guys go at him and you say things like, oh, he'll just block. He doesn't. He literally takes some of the trash comments and people. He's out trying to keep the chat moving and clean. And there's people in there hating, and there's bots everywhere. And he deserves a little damn respect from guys like whatever the hell was yelling at him earlier. Give Travis an eggplant emoji, or a muscle, flexing emoji, or a fist bump emoji, or something. Fire emoji. Eggplant to Saturn, whatever works to show your appreciation. All right, see you all at 8 p.m. at a little bit before midnight. Hopefully, like a good half hour to an hour, maybe even before midnight. Appreciate you all. I'm live Monday through Friday. This is a really short show today, only an hour and 8 minutes, longer than most shows you'll ever find, but short for us. And we'll be back tonight. We'll be back tonight. 8, I keep saying 8. About, I'd say like 11 p.m. Eastern, maybe a little after. And we'll be doing it live. All my people on X, I went live on X and YouTube today just to get, people aware you're getting back into football. We don't put every show on X, so make sure you get on over to the YouTube channel. Link in the bio on X if you want, if you're feeling frisky. See you all tonight. We'll talk about Rashee Rice probably, or something. Live Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Live additionally whenever news breaks. And live also most graveyards at midnight. See you all tonight.